My name is Charlotte Mather Taylor, and I'm the Executive Director of the Area Agency on Aging of Broward County. We are a nonprofit organization. We plan, develop, coordinate, and evaluate programs, provide services, fund services, and are the prime advocate for Broward County residents 60 years of age or older. This video is brought to you by our Dementia Care and Cure Initiative Task Force, also known as DCCI. The DCCI Task Force is part of the Florida Department of Elder Affairs statewide network of task forces committed to creating dementia-caring communities throughout Florida. One of our goals is to increase education, awareness, and sensitivity regarding the needs of people living with dementia and their caregivers. We hope this video will provide you helpful information to assist you in caring for your loved one. If you have any questions regarding this video or are seeking resources, please feel free to reach out to one of the phone numbers behind me on the screen or our website at www.adrcbroward.org. Thank you.
My name is Denise Littau. I am a Vice President with National Care Advisors. We are planners for life. And what that actually means is that we assist families in securing a good quality of life care plan for their loved one. Today, I will be discussing some of the issues that come up with individuals who have dementia and or Alzheimer's. Today's presentation is proactive planning for a loved one with dementia or Alzheimer's. I always like to start out with a quote. This is one of my favorites. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Essentially that we have to live in the present, try to plan for the future, and we have a greater understanding of our lives as we look back upon it. So I always find that quite hopeful. I may, throughout this presentation, mention special needs. It's just, it should be made clear that special needs is not just referring to a young person. People tend to think of children when they hear the term special needs. Special needs really just means anybody who requires significant assistance to achieve their vision for quality of life. So anyone who's requiring significant assistance has a special need. This includes anyone of any age at any time in their lives. When we look at planning, we're really looking at several components. First, we like to start out with the vision. That, of course, means a hard and fast look at finances. That means looking at care, what that plan should look like. That also means legal ramifications or the necessity for legal documents. And I'll get into that a bit later. And finally, we're looking at executing the plan. It's quite fantastic to create plans, and people quite often do. But if you don't have a system in place to carry out the plan, it's useless. So that's one of the main things that people, if they do manage to plan, sometimes don't have the parameters set in place so they can actually be carried out. So again, we're looking at the special need, in this case, the individual with Alzheimer's or dementia or both. And we're looking at the aging process and life expectancy. Most of us, if we do, God willing, reach the age of 85, will experience some form of cognitive decline. It can actually occur well before 85, but it is around 85 that it is typically noticed. Of course, this is very individual. It depends on a person's biology. It depends on their genetics. But at around 85, somewhat earlier or somewhat later, for most individuals, this decline will start. And what we are asking people to do is, in planning for the aging process, you're thinking about not only your mental decline, but then also your physical decline, and looking at the life expectancy. So these are really plans that people in some regard do already make. It's just going that additional step of thinking about when I'm no longer able to carry out my activities of daily living, how will that be handled? Who will be assisting me? And so forth. The second step is, what is it that you would like to have, and what is it that you absolutely need to have? So the like to haves are those things that make life uh, feel a little bit luxurious, perhaps. The must haves are the absolute necessities. That, of course, varies from individual to individual and family to family. But this is an important part of the vision. And I can give a small example. One of the got to haves for some people is the ability to go to the movies. I had a family, a couple, that was their greatest joy. And that's something that they wanted to have facilitated throughout their lives. So they wanted to have the means and they wanted to have the ability to enjoy going to a movie theater. So it could be something even in this category of let's say entertainment, for example. The essential components when we're looking at the quality of life and that vision. Number one, medical care, the custodial and personal care and supervision, supplies and equipment. In some cases, maybe some vocational support. Transportation is a big item, as well as housing. How will that look like? Will they be able to stay in the home, or will they need to consider some sort of facility? Socialization, which is extremely important in the later years, even more so than when we are younger. And finally, those specific quality of life factors, like the example that I just gave of a couple that for their quality of life, going to the movies once a week was a significant piece of that. So that was part of their actual vision. So how are we accomplishing the vision? There's really only three sources. We have to look at the private resources, the family and individual funds. We're looking at unpaid family time. I earlier gave that example of the millions of Americans that are assisting a loved one who have Alzheimer's. Third-party benefits that quite often and most often in this presentation will be with regard to government benefits. If we're looking at, let's say, benefits over a certain period of time, what we like to do is to really evaluate the value of those benefits. So when we're looking at income sources, whether we're looking at pensions or Social Security or supplemental security income, or even Social Security disability income, those are things that need to be evaluated in terms of how they can assist that individual fulfill those later needs later in life. Health insurance, definitely of significant value. We're looking at Medicaid, in many cases Medicare, sometimes a combination of the two, the Affordable Care Act, and VA benefits. A lot of times there are individuals who have served long enough in the military to obtain VA benefits and they're not taking advantage of that fact. So that's always a very good resource as well. And we're looking at some of the other benefits that perhaps a younger in life individuals did not utilize, but they may be able to utilize them now or may need to utilize them, such as SNAP or Section 8 or some other type of service. And then there are the not-for-profits that also provide valuable services. The bottom line is it's really all about custodial care. And that is really when a family member requires assistance with their activities of daily living, their day-to-day life. And this is expensive when it has to be paid for. The value of means-tested benefits, i.e. Medicaid, is very important to part of the planning process for many of the families that we work with. One example that is fairly common is you will have Mom who has been assisting dad over the years. Dad has more physical ailments than mental, but then suddenly at some point, mom is diagnosed with dementia. So you have a two-prong effect of you're losing the value of mom's unpaid services, which are significant. And so you really have essentially two individuals that you're now caring for. Mom can no longer assist dad, and dad will not be able to assist mom as her dementia progresses. Some of the statistics that most people are not aware of is that most of the caregiving is done by older Americans. So from the ages of 65 to 74, almost 31% of the caregivers are in that age range, 65 to 74, and almost, 34.5. Oh, these are the hours actually, excuse me, the hours that caregivers are providing. Uh, from the ages of 65 to 74, they're providing almost 31 hours per week. At the ages of 75 and over, they are providing 34.5 hours per week in caregiving. And when those abilities are lost, this is a significant um, loss of a valuable service that has been essentially been unpaid. In Florida, we have statewide Medicaid managed care, SMMC, established in 2011. There are two components. There is the long-term care managed care program, as well as the managed medical assistance program. And these programs will provide long-term care services. The reason that this is significant is because Medicare does not provide long-term care. Long-term care is essentially care that has to do with the activities of daily living. So any type of essentially custodial care, attendant care, companionship, homemaker services, all of these types of things are considered long-term care. This is not provided by Medicare, and quite often individuals are surprised to learn that Medicare does not provide this type of service as a benefit. This is just a few of the actual numerous services or activities provided under the Florida program. So as I mentioned, there's homemaker, there's home delivered meals, physical therapy, respiratory therapy, respite care, which is huge, particularly for those family members that are providing the majority of the care for their loved one. So if an individual is able to actually qualify for this program, this could be a significant boost in terms of their quality of life. The eligibility, age 65 and over and eligible for Medicaid, or age 18 and over and eligible for Medicaid by reason of a disability. That's what determines whether an individual can take part in this program. Here's a little bit more information, which if you have time later, basically I'm providing just a quick slide as to where you can find more detailed information with regard to this program, the SMMC LTC. At some point, you are or may need an attorney for assistance. If you have a loved one that has special needs, again, someone who needs a significant assistance from another, and that person is under the age of 65, and they have funds or resources that are above the limits that allow someone to qualify for Medicaid, a first-party special needs trust may be in order. What that does is it allows for that individual to transfer their funds into the trust. There will be a trustee who administers those funds within the federal and state guidelines. And in this way, they will be able to qualify for Medicaid and other government programs. If they are the age of 65 and over, the option is a pooled trust with these funds. And the difference, this was basically provided for by the government essentially, was this is the option if you're age 65 and older and need to qualify for Medicaid despite the fact that you actually have assets. Both of these trusts, which are first party really means that the money belongs to that individual who's posting them into the trust. And there is also a Medicaid lien on these trusts. So when the individual who has the benefit from Medicaid passes away, any funds remaining would be paid back to the Medicaid program that provided services throughout their lifetime. Medicaid was created for individuals who are poor. This allows individuals who have assets, but not to the extent that they could actually afford health care. And this was actually provided for long before the Affordable Care Act, when individuals who have pre-existing conditions could not get any coverage whatsoever. Now coverage is available, but not necessarily affordable in many cases. Finally, we have the Miller Trust or Qualified Income Trust, which allows for individuals who have excess in income that's typically some sort of pension that disqualifies them from government benefits, can be placed into this sort of trust so that they could qualify. For any of these types of solutions, you definitely need an attorney, an elder law attorney. You're also going to need an attorney, unfortunately, if a guardianship is needed. Guardianship protection is needed when a plan essentially has not been made with regard to who will be carrying out somebody's wishes once that individual is no longer able to do so for themselves. So they essentially do not have the capacity to do so. The way that a guardianship is essentially avoided is by the power of attorney, which allows someone to make decisions with regard to your financial affairs. And the second piece is the healthcare surrogate in Florida. In some states, they call it a power of attorney for healthcare or some other variation. In Florida, it's a healthcare surrogate. Again, you are allowing someone, or in this case, you're allowing someone to make medical and healthcare decisions on your behalf. This need not be the same individual. Another part of the piece of healthcare planning is the physician orders for life-sustaining treatment. Not as popular in Florida as it is in other states across the country. It's becoming more and more common. What has been mostly common is the do not resuscitate order, or DNR. The yellow form must be in yellow. That quite often folks will place on the refrigerator in the event that emergency assistance arrives and they do not have the desire to be resuscitated. And finally, there is the living will, which specifies essentially what life-sustaining measures an individual would like for a physician to go through, what links that the physician should actually go to sustain life. So in looking at all of these various pieces, what it boils down to is we're all living longer. We all need to, in some way, shape, or form, plan for this longevity. This longevity does include, but is not limited to at all, the financial considerations. When we are looking at finances, though, we do need to think about custodial care. If you are no longer able to make a sandwich or do your grocery shopping or some of those things, that is a calculation that should be considered when you're looking at finances. There are the legal considerations, trying to be proactive by having a power of attorney or healthcare surrogate, perhaps, as opposed to the guardianship scenario, which most people do not prefer. And of course, there are the medical and the healthcare considerations. As we are all individual, there are some things that will become apparent over time, some things less so, but certainly you want to make sure that you have any documentation that you should have in order, and that this is also part of your longevity plan. Finally, I'd like to say that it's not always about the cost, but it is about the plan. Establish a dignified and secure plan early, and please don't wait. If you have any questions, this is my contact information. Thank you so much for your time today, and I hope that this was informative.
We hope you have found this video educational. Remember, you are not alone, and there are many resources out there to help you. The next slide lists some very important resources that you can connect to seek additional assistance. In addition, remember the Area Agency on Aging of Broward County is here to help. Our phone number, which is behind my screen, is 954-745-9779, which is our direct helpline, as well as our website, www.adrcbroward.org. Wherever you live in the state, you can reach out to also the 1-800 number also behind me on the screen. That's 1-800-963-5337. That number will connect you to an area agency on aging in your area. Thank you.